Let's see what happens when we take a really inexpensive distortion pedal, plug it into a recording interface, and record it direct. Hello everyone, welcome back to Pawn Shop to Jaw Drop, and today we're going to do an experiment that I've wanted to try for quite some time. We're going to take a distortion pedal, we're going to plug it right into an audio interface, and we're going to record it direct, and we're going to add a virtual power amp and some speaker simulation through the use of impulse response technology using the 2Notes Audio Engineering Wall of Sound plugin. Now, this distortion pedal is the Coco Distortion, and I bought it for $21.95 from a popular online retailer. Many online retailers carry this, and they range in price from $17 to $25, but it's not expensive. So, even if this gets close, I bet it would prove that if you had a really cool distortion pedal, like a Pinnacle from Wampler or the MXR 5150, that might even be better, but we don't know that this isn't good yet. We haven't tried it, so let's give it a shot. We're going to use this guitar, which you've seen on the channel before. In fact, I have a full-length demo of this guitar with an audio example, so I'll put a link to that in the description, and you can go check it out. We're going to plug that with a 1/4-inch cable right into the Coco Distortion, and then that's going to go right into my audio interface. Once there, we're going to run it through the 2Notes Audio Engineering Wall of Sound plugin, and we're going to add a virtual power amp. This is interesting because in my last Wall of Sound demo, I actually didn't show off that feature, so this is going to serve a second purpose of showing you how to use that feature in Wall of Sound because it's really handy. Finally, we're going to finish up our sound with a speaker impulse response, which is going to give our sound that speaker cabinet character that's really a necessity for a distortion guitar sound. So let's not waste any more time talking. Let's turn on the talkie box, plug everything in, and get to work. Okay, so here I am on my computer, and you can see I've got a session set up with everything I'm going to need for this video. You can see this GTR mono channel is set up with this corresponding lane right here. And that's going to be for the guitar that you're going to hear right now. So I've got an instance of the Wall of Sound plugin set up right here. And if I open that up, you can see that this section right here is lit up. If you watch my other video, I didn't really touch on this section very much, but it is the section where we can create a virtual power section. Now, what you do is you decide whether you want a single-ended power section or a push-pull power section. Now, single-ended effectively means mostly Class A, and then push-pull would be a Class AB power section like you find in most modern high-gain amps. I've actually chosen a push-pull KT88 power section, and I've got the presence turned up about 63%, well, exactly 63%, and then I've got the depth at 60%, and I've got the volume at 12 dB. So, moving on, I'm using this Brit 60A cabinet, which we've seen in the other video, and then I've got a Ribbon 160 mic set up, and I've got it right in the center. All right. I don't have anything going on with the EQ except a low pass filter right here, which is set to 99 Hertz. If you don't know what a low pass filter does, basically it's dumping everything below 99 Hertz, which in this case I think is going to be a good idea. So, all right, in review, we got our virtual power section, which is a push-pull KT88 power section. We've got a Brit 1960, or I'm sorry, a Brit 60A cabinet, which I'm assuming is a model of an old 1960 cab, a Marshall 1960 cab. Not sure, but I'm betting that's what it is. And then a Ribbon 160, which I'm guessing is a reasonable facsimile of a Royer 160, but I could be wrong about that. I don't know. Nothing going on in the EQ except for a low pass filter, and let's see what that sounds like with our pedal plugged in. A good old A chord, and I don't know, that sounds pretty good. I don't know. Let's record a little bit of that, see what we get. All right, here it goes. Start right here, I guess. Sure, why not? Here we go. Let's try that again. Here we go. And if I play the right chords, we'll be even better off. This is going to be the one. Check it out, guys. All right, so let's give that a listen, shall we? I'm gonna go ahead and loop this. Okay, so now I've got the pedal set up with everything at 12 o'clock, and that to me is sounding a little dark. Another thing that jumps out right away for me is that it's really, really gainy. I think we need to lose some gain, or this is going to kind of fall apart in the mix. So that's a good tip. A lot of times when you're recording distorted guitars, more gain is not really a good thing. You'll often find that the sound you want is never as gainy as you think it is. So I'm going to turn the gain down to 9 o'clock. And we were, what? Yeah, it's dark. So I'm going to turn the tone knob up to 3 o'clock. So now we've got a less gainy thing going here. All right, so let's record that. Okay, so that's not that much different, but it has a little bit more clarity. It's not so super distorted. And what the heck, let's run with it. And I really still would love just a little more of that super top. And so let's go ahead and bring in this EQ here. And we'll go ahead and bump these up about 3 dB each. That's the 2K knob and the 6K knob. And let's see what that sounds like. Okay, now that might sound a little bright by itself, but when we get some bass and drums in there, I think that's going to sound pretty darn good. So let's record a cheesy bass and drum part, and I'll record this over it, and we'll see what we end up with. All right, so I'm back, and here is my cheesy bass and drum part by itself. So probably not my greatest, or I should say probably not my finest hour as a bass player, but what the heck. All right, so here's the guitar I just recorded, that same riff we heard a minute ago, and here's what they sound like together. Okay, so that's pretty cool, but it probably could be a little louder in the mix. The problem is if we turn it up, it's going to sound a little too loud. So like, let's turn that up a little bit. And let's go to, I don't know, minus 5.5. So you can see that's kind of overpowering the drums and the bass. If we go to like minus 5.8, still a little loud. Let's go to minus 6. So that might be cooler. But the trick here is that we started out at minus 6.1, right? And it seems a little quiet. And if we go to minus 6, it's bordering on too loud. So that's a drag because we really only have 1/10 of a dB to work with when we're mixing, and that's not very much. Another problem with this is that it's mono. Which means if we want to make room for a vocal or the kick drum or the snare or something else that might be kind of more in the middle, we've got this big honking guitar in the way. We could pan it. But that's going to sound like an old Van Halen recording. Now, I'm not trying to say that old Van Halen recordings are bad sounding, but in the modern day, we like to have things a little more stereo. So I think this might really benefit from having some quad tracking. So I'm going to redo this now, but instead of just one, I'm going to do 4 guitar parts on guitar left, guitar right, guitar mid left, and guitar mid right, and we'll see what that sounds like. Okay, so I'm back, and you can see now that on those lanes I talked about earlier, I now have 4 guitar parts, and here's what that sounds like. All right, so that is definitely a lot more stereo, and you can see that now I'm running all of these lanes, all of these channels on the mixer through a guitar bus, which is this blue one here, and if I push play, you can see. Now if we want to turn all 4 guitars up, we can. So let's go back to where we were. And we can solo all the guitar. Now, if you back up the video and you listen to the mono guitar, I think you'll find that that is a lot groovier, just because it's stereo now. And the way I achieved that was that I have the far left and right guitars panned hard left and right, and then I have these middle two that are panned about 70% left and right. And then I made some adjustments in the Wall of Sound plugin. So on the hard left and right ones, I've still got about the same amount of high end going. And then on the middle two, you can see that I have ditched the high end that I was adding, and I'm taking out a little bit of mid-range, sucking out about 3 dB around this 800 hertz knob, and then I'm sucking out another 3 dB at 360. Also, you'll see that these inner two are slightly quieter. They're 4 dB quieter than the outside ones. That's because these are appearing in both speakers, so they seem pretty loud if you solo these guys. So actually, I'll just mute the outer two. And then if I mute those two and play the outer ones, you'll see those are giving us our big stereo image. They're nice and loud. So these two are just kind of for support, and these two are giving us that great big stereo image. Again, these have slightly more high end, and these have slightly less mid-range. And if I play the whole thing again, you can hear it one last time. And that's using the Wall of Sound plugin with your favorite distortion pedal as a preamp. Okay, so there you go. I hope that was informative, and I hope y'all enjoyed that little experiment as much as I did. I'm actually pleased with that guitar sound quad tracked like that. I'm not saying it would be my go-to for doing a serious recording, but I don't know, if I had a more versatile distortion pedal, I might. For those of you that have distortion pedals laying around, this is a great way for you to maybe get some different sounds in your recordings without having to buy a whole nother amp. As I've said before, the Wall of Sound plugin is free, so go get it. I'll put a link to the product page in the description. No matter what, I want to thank you again, as always, for joining me here on Pawn Shop to Jaw Drop. I love seeing all of y'all, and I can't wait to see you in the next video. Well, friends, thanks for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe. You can head over to pawnshoptojawdrop.com for even more content. But while you're here, here's another video you might like. This is Brendan saying we'll see you next time on
Pawn Shop to Jaw Drop.